Great Sunrise family, welcome to day 5 of the Institutionist. So we're still in the midst of this story with Lily Mae, and still the mystery behind what has happened to this elevator and whose fault it is. So let's get into the story without further delay. Okay, let's get up. Okay. Jim and John head for the dim hallway outside Lily Mae's apartment. They keep a safe distance from Lily Mae and the diminutive Mr. Reed. John takes the doorknob into his hand and says, You want this opened or closed?" I hope you can hear me. Because I got my mic here, but I know I need to tighten it up real quick. I forgot about that. I have the thing. I don't even have the thing to tighten it up. Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, there we go. Now we're in business. I hope that's fine. Let me see. That's the problem. Okay. Testing, 1, 2. Can you hear me loud and clear? Okay. Here we go. I'm going to start over because I don't think I was heard correctly. Jim and John head for the dim hallway outside Lily Mae's apartment. Remember, we left off the part where Mr. Reed walked in and he told Jim and John to get out of her apartment as they were snooping around, investigating because of the elevator incident. So the guys are just leaving Lily Mae's apartment. They keep a safe distance from Lily Mae and the diminutive Mr. Reed. John takes the doorknob into his hand and says, You want this open or closed? Mr. Reed looks at Lily Mae. Open, she says. Jim and John don't speak until they reach the landing of the floor below. And Lily Mae can't make out what they say. She hears words, though, and the sound is a loud buzzing in her ears, incommensurate with the actual volume. She feels dizzy but hides it well. She doesn't know Mr. Reed from Adam. So far, he's just another white man with an attitude. Never mind his keen sense of timing. Mr. Reed, is it then? She asked. Mr. Reed, yes. Mr. Reed says, I'm Orville Lever's secretary. He sent me to fetch you. I don't need fetching, though I suppose I should thank you for helping me out there. Lily Mae walks over to the swollen kitchen net and returns the jar of preserves to the icebox. when she thinks better of it and drops it in the trash. It was my pleasure, Miss Watson, if I may have a seat. Lily May offers. She has little choice. I'm not sure if you fully realize the difficult position you're in. Miss Watson, today's accident has some very disturbing repercussions, which is why the institutionist candidate for guild chair has seen fit to send someone over to look after me. I don't think I need looking after. May I ask you a question? Why didn't you why didn't you report back to the department after your shift? I was tired. It is standard operating procedure after an accident to report to your supervisors, is it not? I didn't know there was an accident until I saw the late addition on the train home. I think we should be going, Miss Watson. I wouldn't advise staying here tonight. This is my home, and if I hadn't stopped in, I would have taken care of them. My car is waiting downstairs. You inspected the Fanny Briggs building, did you not? You know I did. Then what went wrong? Nothing went wrong. You are aware, Miss Watson, that those men weren't from internal affairs. Yes. Yes. Then who were they? Nothing. Has it occurred to you yet that you were set up? The accident is impossible. It wasn't an accident. Even if Jim and John had found Lily Mae safe behind the painting, the contents wouldn't have interested them, except to flesh out John's coveted psychological profile of his night's subject. A soccer trophy from high school. Everyone on the team got one. Even Lily Mae, who sat on the bench all season and only joined the squad at her mother's urging she be social. Her high school graduation ring, poor craftsmanship, a love letter from a dull boy, her diploma from the Institute for Vertical Transport, and her prize winning paper on theoretical elevators. Not much, really. Her father dropped her off in front of the place where she was to live and left the engine running. Lily Mae removed the two suitcases, the back of the pickup truck. The suitcases were new with a formidable casing of green plastic, scratch proof. Supposedly, her father had only been able to afford them because they were manufacturer's oaths aside. Scratched, gouged, actually, as if an animal had taken them in its fangs to teach them about hubris. Marvin Watson was proud of his daughter. She was doing what he had never been able to do. She was studying to be an elevator inspector. His pride was limed with shame over these circumstances. He had long dreamed of the day when he would drive his only daughter, his baby in blood, off to school. Here it was, but he did not leave the pickup and did not look up at the building. in which she was to live. He cranked down the windows to kiss her goodbye. The old truck hiccuped if it idled for too long, setting everything to a furious tremble. Hey, Ratel. And Lily Mae's lips did not even graze her father's cheek when she leaned over to kiss him goodbye. Her father drove off and never saw the room in which she would live for 3 years, a converted janitor's closet about above the newly renovated gymnasium. They had never renamed the gymnasium after the dashing young heir to a driving sheave fortune, a gentleman from the country's south who had donated a large sum of money to be spent at the Institute's discretion. Lily Mae lived in the janitor's closet because the Institute for Vertical Transport did not have living space for colored students. The Institute campus had formerly been a health spa for rich neurasthenic women from the Northeast larger cities, which is why the students were never too far from statues of Grecian nymphs, numb-nosed spirits whose long manes eased liquidly into their sagging tunics. The spa failed after newer spas opened in the weatherless regions of the Southwest. Weatherlessness is much more amenable to those in search of succor for bodily complaint, evoking timelessness and immortality. And soon the rich neurasthenic women from the Northeast larger cities boarded planes to be free of the seasons in proximity of their braying families, the cause of their disrepair. The elevator magnates who brought the land and refurbished the spa's physical plant into something more suitable for a place of learning were disheartened by the rich suburb. The surrounding neighborhood eventually became impounded on winter nights when their wives and children were asleep and company the only company was a bottle of aged Irish. Hey, welcome, Ratel. Welcome, sister. Okay. Spirits, how life would have been different if they traded in real estate and not mechanical convenience. Verticality is such a risky enterprise. Lily Mae did not mix much with the other students, who were in turn thankful that she had spared them the burden of false conciliation. As she had when she was in elementary school, she sat in the final row of her classes and did not speak unless there was no other option. She retired early in the evening, shuddering her eyes to the urgent crumblings of the gym's boiler room, whose howls fouled the empty building at night like the protestations of wrath. She rose early in the morning when the first sunlight crept over the statues of Grecian nymphs before it advanced to the metropolis, a few miles to the west. The admission of colored students in the Institute of Vertical Transport was staggered to prevent overlap in any possible fulminations or insurrections that might arise from that overlap. The previous tenant of the janitor's closet had a sweet tooth. Every cleaning produced yet another clumped wrapper of Bogart's chewing gum. Occasionally, Professor called Lily May by his name, even though it would have been difficult to say there was any resemblance. Lily May never pointed out the mistakes of her professors, who were a cranky bunch, mostly former field men who had rejected retirement to teach at the most prestigious elevator inspecting school in the country. A black gown is remarkably effective in conferring prestige on even the most rough hewn of men or hewn of men. Okay, she learned plenty about the animals. Hey, God in Hollywood, welcome. She learned plenty her first semester at the Institute for Vertical Transport. She learned about the animals in Roman colosseums, hoisted to their cheering deaths on rope tackle, elevators powered by slaves. Learned about flying chair, Villier's flying chair, a simple pulley shaft and led counterweight concussions described in a love letter from Napoleon the First to his wife, the Archduchess Marie Louise, about steam and the first steam elevators. She read about Elisha Graves' oldest, the cities he enabled through his glorious invention and holy war between the newly deputized elevator inspectors and the elevator company's maintenance contractors. Welcome, God in Hollywood. Junior, welcome. The rise of safety regulations, safety device innovations, the search for a national standard. She was learning about imperialism, but didn't know it yet. She remembers when she first saw the light. She was usually so tired by nightfall that she rarely noticed anything except that her room was either too hot or too cold. That that the walk down to the public ladies' bathroom on the floor below was full of shadows, and the janitors evidently did not need more than single naked bulb to perform their duties in the maintenance closet. The poor illumination gave her headaches when she tried to read. One night she couldn't sleep. Literally, she had to study. All semester she neglected her class on the changing concepts of governmental attitudes towards elevator inspection. The evolution of the machines interested her more. To tell the truth, her first few months there, and now she had to cram for the following morning's exam. Her body didn't like coffee and tea, and she rarely stayed up late. So Lily May took to pinching her wrist when her head began to dip. Upon rising from one of her unscheduled naps, she noticed a light in Fulton Hall on the top floor where the small library was. There shouldn't have been anyone in there. The library closed at dusk. Elevator inspectors, even acolytes, generally being morning people, She wondered if the administration had extended the library hours during the exam period. Lily Mae had discovered she was often ignorant of much routine information her fellow students possessed. But the lower floors of Fulton Hall were dark. She described the light had been left on accidentally and returned to the arid court transcript of the United States versus the Arbor Elevator Company. Spring arrived and a new semester. The work was more difficult than before. She discovered volume 1 of theoretical elevators and was having trouble sleeping. One day in February, she saw the light again in Fulton Hall. The light wasn't on every night. There was no set schedule she could define, but it was on. All right, let's take a break. I hope everyone is doing well out there. How you doing, God Nollywood? How you doing, Rotel? All right, let's get started on this next page. Let me see. Yeah, I'll try to read as much as I can through. All right, too frequently for it to be accidental, she couldn't help but notice Fulton Hall had formerly been the spa's PAP. That's good to hear. PAP Center, a wide stone building in the center of campus. Walkways of pink tile radiated from the structure to all the important buildings for the treatment of the psychosomatic maladies, mud therapy, colonic irrigation, bleeding chambers. Now the building housed engineering, advanced concepts, the Hall of Safety at Pink Path also led to the gym, which had also been a gym during the time of the spa, and filled with medicine balls. The path led more or less directly from the lit window in Fulton Hall to the janitor's closet where Lily Mae lived. Occasionally, she would see a figure moving through the stacks. She decided it was an old man. He walked with a cane. Sometimes, instead of turning on the lights, he used a lantern. And he walked even more slowly than, as if inordinately afraid of dropping it. She saw him about a dozen times in all, and always felt as if they were the last people on earth. It was the same feeling she gets when she's in a shaft, standing on the car. There's an old inspector's maxim: an elevator is a grave. Such loss and devastation in there. That's why the inside walls of the car was never sheer. They're broken up into panels, equipped with a dorsal rail. Otherwise, it would be a box, a coffin. On the nights the figure haunted Fulton Hall, he was Lily Mae's elevator, the thing she stood upon in the darkness of the shaft. Just him, just her. In the darkness in the elevator well, slits of light seep from the door, seams on each floor at regular intervals, and do not comfort. The slits of light speak of more light that is out of reach. There will be no redemption. If she had known the identity of the man on the last night she saw him, would it have changed her response? On that last night, he saw her and waved at her, slowly, communicating all he knew and what she already understood about the darkness. Would it have changed her response to his wave? Nothing, not even a nod. The polite thing to do if she had known the man was James Fulton, and that the following morning a hungover janitor would discover his body on the library floor, dead of a stroke, the lantern wick still glowing dully. Probably not. That's the kind of person Lily May is. Okay. Anyway. Hmm. Anyway, slept in the biggest bed she had ever slept in. Swim Mabel, Lily May, buoyant, despite her negligible body fat. A skinny one she is. The bed possesses an undertone conducive to the dreaming, but she doesn't remember her dreams when she wakes. On waking, her half dreaming consciousness segues into a recollection of her visit to the Fanny Briggs building. It was simple. That's what Lily May is thinking about in her room at 117 2nd Avenue. The lobby of Fanny Briggs Memorial Building was almost finished when she arrived. As if to distract from the minus, minuscule and cramped philosophy of what would transpire on the floors above. The city offered visitors the spatial bounty of the lobby. The ersatz marble was firm underfoot, like real marble, sheer and produced trembling echoes effortlessly. The circle or Doric columns braced the weight above without complaint. The mural, however, was not complete. It had started out jauntily, enough to Lily May's left. Cheerless Indians holding up deerskin in front of a fire. The original tenants, sure, a galleon negotiating the tricky channels around the island. Two beaming Indians trading beads to gang of white men. The infamous sale of the island. Big moment. Have to include that. The first of many dubious transactions in the city's history. They didn't even have elevators yet. That's why the scene looked so flat to Lily May. The city is dimensionless. The mural jumped to the revolution. Then she noticed skipped over a lot of stuff. The painter seemed to be making it up as if as he went well seemed to be making it up as he went along. Like the men who hold on. No, don't mess with me. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, as they went along, right? Let me see what that is. Okay. It says the painter seemed to be making it up as he went along. Okay. Like the men who shaped the city, the revolution scene was a nice set piece. The colonists pulling down the statue of King George III. They melted it down for ammunition. If she remembers correctly, it's always nice when a good mob comes together. The painting ended there. Someone knocks at the door of her room in 117 2nd Avenue, but she doesn't open her eyes. Judging from the amount of wall space that remained to Lily Mae's right,
what are you doing in the garage?
The mural
Turn off the light.
Would have to get even more brief in its chronicle of the city's greatest hits. Either the painter had misjudged how much space he had, or the intervening years weren't that compelling to him. Just the broad strokes, please. The deputy under the secretary of municipal construction waddled over from the far wall. He said, "You come to see the elevators." He had the fatty arrogance of all nepotism. Hires somebody's nephew, somebody's sister's boy. She nodded. Is this going to take long? I'm supposed to go on a break now. On a break from what? Only security guards and janitors ever experience buildings like this. Like fraught ships gnashed between the ice, waiting for that warming current still far off. Detained detained in some other part of the world. The rats hadn't even moved into the building. The roaches still deliberating a month from now. At this time of day, the lobby will be befouled with citizens. To see a building at this stage, Lily Mae thought, is an honor. The deputy undersecretary was bored and fiddled in his pockets. The muralist scaffolding tottered above Lily Mae like a rickety gallows. Just show me to them. Lily Mae said, it will be easy. Before Lily Mae could recreate her inspection further, the porter opens the door to her room. Despite her silence, he holds the silver platter with hands snug in white gloves. He smiles. She pulls the thick and red blankets up to her slight chin. I'm sorry to disturb you, he says, but it seems a sham to let this nice breakfast go to waste. Thank you, Little May said. She sits up against the oak headboard. The headboard's detailed engraving of United's first lift motor digs into her left shoulder. The man sets the platter across her waist. Eggs, ham, juice. Normally, when offered so much food early in the morning, a rare occurrence to be sure. Lily Mae pecks, and politely moves the food around on the plate to maximize the illusion of being eaten. This morning, she is grateful. The porter's mouth is quick to smile. He is a tall and broad fellow and would almost be menacingly handsome if not for the smile. Lily Mae sees he is a strong man, although his strength is wasted on his petite duties. The white uniform fits him well, but he seems trapped by its starched and creased confines. But we take what job we can get. Lily Mae thinks whatever we can scramble for. She doesn't take it. She doesn't take to it. Being waited on by colored people. This is wrong. Whew. He is at the window. Shall I open the curtains? He asked. Lily Mae nods. It's later in the morning when she thought. Then she thought. It's early in the morning than she thought. The light congeals in globes on the leaves of the old trees in courtyard. The back walls of the adjoining buildings are decrepit compared to the facades they present to the street, but serve their purpose to fortify against those who might take the treasures of the courtyard. The garden of old money. Lily Mae is about to dig into her breakfast when she notices that her green suitcase is ajar across the room, next to an imposing looking bureau, and empty. Don't worry, the porter reassures, observing her stare. It wasn't me. Mrs. Gravely unpacked your things last night. Mr. Reed thought it would make you more comfortable. His eyebrows bow. What is it? He asked. Nothing, she says. I'm just tired. You don't look tired at all, the porter says. You're a vision, like you're up and ready to go. Hmm. Lily Mae shakes her head and says, thanks. I mean it, he says through a grin. This isn't my regular job. My uncle is sick. That's why I'm here. I'm filling in for him. But if I'd known his job had this many extras, I would have come around here before. He extends his hand. My name is Natchez, he says. Lily Mae, Are you with us, Miss Watson? Yes, sir. I was just thinking that. You are aware this is a timed exam. Yes, sir. Then we'll begin. 1846. Sir William Armstrong designs and manufactures a hydraulic crane. Erected at Newcastle, the crane utilized water pressure from London's main. Armstrong eventually used the same principles in his weighted accelerator. The main function of the pole shedder is to prevent heating outside the prescribed parameters. A citizen has what chance of being in an elevator's misfortune, injury, or infatality? Both. 1 in 300 million and 1 in 650 million, respectively. Non-metallic material may be used in T-rails, provided what? The rated speed for the car does not exceed 0.76 meters per second. The three types of safety gears. Instantaneous with buffered effect, and progressive. Instantaneous type exerts a rapidly increasing pressure on the guide rails during the stopping period. The stopping time and the distance are short. These gears can be employed in cars rated for speeds not in excess of 0.76 meters per second. Instantaneous type with buffered effect incorporates an elastic system of either energy accumulation or energy dissipation. Dissipation. All right, let's take a break. Woo, family. I think I want to go ahead and eight more pages, so I should be good. Buffered effect incorporates an elastic system of either energy accumulations or energy dissipation. Okay. It generally consists of a system of oil buffers on the lower car frame and safety planks on the guardrails. Oh, excuse me. Effective for rated speeds of up to 2.5 meters per second. Progressive type applies limited, increasing pressure on the guardrails. It's primarily used in Europe on cars with rated speeds of 1 meter per second or less. That was a very full answer. Thank you, sir. The standard accident curve possesses what shape? The failure rate for the elevator is expressed by RT equals 1 minus FT, where R is reliability, T is time, and F is failure. The equation is characterized by a bathtub-shaped curve with three distinct phases. The initial or early failure phase begins with a relatively high incidence of accidents, mostly due to installation errors, and then drops off sharply. This is the first wall of bathtub. The next phase, called the random failure phase, is a plateau and extends for the majority of the elevator service life. This flat plane is bottom of the bathtub. The accidents in this phase are unpredictable and generally result from passengers' misuse or poor maintenance. It is also in this phase that the rare catastrophic accident occurs. The curve ascends quickly again in the final, or wear out phase. When the elevator is fast, it's period of prime use. When the elevator is past, it's period of prime use. The opposite wall of the bathtub. Most of these accidents can be prevented, again, by diligent inspection and careful maintenance during this crucial time. May I take a drink of water? Yes, the four questions. As put forth by Metal Metalham, how did this happen? How could this happen? Is it exceptional? How will it be avoided in the future? The verdict in the United States versus Mario's ruled that restaurant dumbwaiters are hand elevators and subject to scrutiny by municipal elevator inspectors, despite the fact that they do not carry human freight. In the fallout, critics charged that the elevator inspector Cable was attempting to unduly extend the scope of the jurisdiction of its jurisdiction. The 16 elevator freight, an elevator used for carrying freight on which only the operator and the person necessary for uploading and loading are permitted. Elevator gravity, an elevator utilizing gravity to move the car. Elevator hand, an elevator utilizing manual energy. Elevator inclined, an elevator traveling at an angle of inclination of 70 degrees or less from the horizontal. Elevator multi-deck, an elevator having two or more compartments located immediately above the other. Elevator observation, designed to permit exterior viewing by passengers. Elevator passenger, an elevator used primarily to carry persons other than the elevator. Elevator, other than the operator, I'm sorry. Elevator power, utilizing power other than the gravitation or manual. Elevator electric, a power elevator utilizing an electric driving machine. Elevator hydraulic, a power elevator where the energy is applied by means of a liquid under pressure in a cylinder. Elevator direct plunger hydraulic, a hydraulic elevator having a plunger or a cylinder attached directly to the car frame or platform. Elevator, electro-hydraulic, a direct plunger elevator where liquid is pumped by an electric motor. Elevator, maintain pressure hydraulic, a direct plunger elevator where liquid under pressure is available at all times for transfer into the cylinder. Elevator roped hydraulic, a hydraulic elevator having its piston connected to the car with the wire ropes. Elevator private residence, a power passenger elevator installed in a private residence or in a multiple dwelling as a means of access to the private residence. Elevator sidewalk, a freight elevator for carrying material exclusive of automobiles and operating between a landing and a sidewalk or other area exterior to a building and floor below the sidewalk or grade level. That's the 16. You're doing well, very well, Miss Watson. Thank you, sir. We're almost done here. Answer me this. Do you know how many colored elevator inspectors there are in this country? 12. And do you know how many are employed as such? Are not working as shoe shine boys or maids? I don't know. Less than 12? So you don't know everything. That would be all. Miss Watson, you receive your grade next week. The falling elevator's wake is sparks, thousands of them raking the darkness all the way down. The address is 117 2nd Avenue, but everyone knows it is as Intuitionist House. Edward Dip Watney, two-time winner of the Werner von Siemens Award for outstanding work in elevator innovation, first for Flyboy limit switch, the second time for the smart overspeed governor. Purchased the townhouse 2 decades ago when the movement was still the soiled stepchild. The elevator community regarded Edward Dip Watney as a man of quixotic, quixotic, quixotic temperament. While not entirely swayed by institutionalism, he felt that anything that caused such bellowing and recrimination merited a place to germinate and unfold itself, and hopefully cause more bellowing and recrimination. He was also a well known model train enthusiast. Edward Dip Watney's achievements were and still are appreciated. His name will maunder about the indexes of elevator inspector textbooks until the end of time. One snapshot: Arbor Elevator Company, the fortune license of Dip Watney's Flyboy. Limited switch, dipping the prototype in gold and bestowing it upon its inventor as a Christmas gift one cold year. Edward Dip Watney was not interested in the gilded privileges of fame. However, the longevity of Fulton's science was uncertain. Non, non the nonetheless, Dippeth Watney reasoned if God had given him a gift, the least he could do was help others find theirs. It was this same faith in God's will that prevented Edward Dippeth Watney from witnessing the results of his efforts on behalf of the International Intuitionist Brotherhood. He believed that cysts on his neck to be another of his gifts, a reminder against vanity. He was incorrect. In the years following its benefactor's death, the house thrived into the international headquarters of intuitionism, intuitionism, continuing to stubbornly prosper even after institute administrations reversed themselves, offered classes on the new science, and even bestowed large, although not well situated, offices upon its intrepid instructors. Very little actual research goes on at the house, but burning midnight oil was never the building's intended purpose. Inspectors and theoreticists theoreticians theoreticians of the elevators are still social creatures despite the toll their profession exacts on their souls. Every Tuesday, James Fulton and later Orville Lever stood in the downstairs drawing room and lectured on the intricacies intricacies of his science. Lectured on its implication of European maintenance deviations on intuitionism, expounded on the gloom of the shaft and how it does not merely echo the gloom inside every living creature, but duplicates it perfectly. Afterwards, there were mint juleps for everyone. And still later, after Fulton had retired to his Tudor style house on the Institute for Vertical Transport, North Campus Swedish films featuring large breasted volleyball players, Fulton was unaware of this dubious activity. The house chauffeur regularly packed the Tuesday night lectures, and traveling salesmen who were in search of a good time and willing to pay for it. Fulton, if he ever wondered about it, probably took his lay audience as evidence of the universal applica- applicability of his theories. Ever since Lever replaced Fulton as the man of the house, the importance of 117 Second Avenue was trembled in the hearts and minds of the global institutionalist tribe. All right. Whew. Okay. It is now his campaign headquarters and home to a formidable optimism. New of these generation of these generally sullen detective philosophers of vertical transport. The new rumors have invigorated the conventional wisdom whispers that Lever has a genuine chance of winning the election for guild chair. Their time has come, and they knew it. They knew it would. Lever's Tuesday night lectures no longer linger haughtily over the errata of nuts and bolts. Imperialism, but exaggerates the house walls vibrate with the sibilance of campaign rhetoric. If he wins, the house will change forever. For now, the regular life of the house continues as if it has been, as it has for years. So, not to jinx the gathering magic of the time, from the continent come foreign scholars of the art. And after lecturing at the Institute, they retire to the house in the second floor guest rooms. Lily May would be astonished to hear the names of the luminaries who had slept in the bed she lives in right now. Her fingers are laced beneath her skull, and she stares at the ceiling grand parties celebrating the publication of the latest Intuitionist. Tracts are held here, and in it is custom for the guest to comment. With trickling all on the sublime properties of Mrs. Gravely's apple brown Betty, the local membership, those who have sworn oath of intuitionism. Excuse me. I definitely need my reading glasses finally. Gotta get those reading glasses. Savvy imperialists hedging their bets and apologetical a political political inspectors who just want to get away from the wife will convene for poker games and on special nights on to taste unblended scotches of the finest quality, correlative to the house's widening influence. The Swedish films have swelled in attendance. Now that the chauffeur, emboldened by how much his supplemental income has increased his estimation in his in-laws, I started inviting house members to join the Thai club and Bible salesman at his after hours confabs in the garage, said members from whom he can single out with ruthless acuity. Acuity. Something in their eyes. Ask her, Lily Mae will not admit that her heart skipped a beat. Okay. So we got only 4 or 5 pages. So this is what I'll do on page 56. We'll continue this probably some in the morning. I don't know if I have time. I might do another day, change my day 6 to tomorrow and make day 7 on Thursday, because we're about finished with this chapter 1. We're about finished with the whole part of 1. And then we'll be ready to start part 2. And then, let's see, how does this go? It looks like it's just a part 1 and part 2. Let me be sure. Oh, what they do? Let me make sure nothing happened here. Okay. Yep. I think that's all we got is a part 2. Let's see what this is. Okay, that's just the paper. Yep, all we got is a part 2, so we're doing really good. We're doing really, really good. This is a fictional book, but it's the way he wrote it is brilliant, and it feels real life. It feels real life, but I think the way it reads is kind of like really, really, really realistic, that people can relate in the real world, and it feels so real. It's like a realist, like what's those people who they can paint pictures and it look real. And I mean, even though it's a fiction, but it's a fiction, but it's about real life, about our experience, with racism, different way of thinking, um, just that whole thing. So, family, thank you for being here, and come join me again tomorrow, and we'll finish up part one. And then also tomorrow, I'm gonna be doing talking about what is actually Satan. So we're gonna get in that discussion tomorrow as well. So with that said, family, true love, real peace, and the higher self within the soul. Always remember, to the end.